It's crazy how one moment, one conversation, can change everything you thought you understood about someone, especially when that someone is your dad. I mean, the man who raised you, taught you how to tie your shoes, scared away the monsters, under your bed. How do you go from that to silence? I've been holding on to this story for a long time, and every time I tried to speak it, the words would just fall apart in my throat. But I think I'm ready now, not just for me, but for anyone out there who's ever had a moment with someone they love that shattered everything. It happened between me and my dad. And yeah, it ruined everything. Or maybe it just revealed what was already broken. I was never the kind of kid who fought with my parents. I wasn't perfect, not by any stretch, but I respected my dad. Maybe too much. You see, he wasn't the kind of guy who said, "I love you." He showed it, through work, through sacrifice, through being there at every school pickup. That was his language. So I learned to speak his language too. Keep it together, don't cry, keep pushing, keep quiet. And for a long time, I thought we understood each other. But here's the thing. No one tells you about getting older. The gap between who your parents think you are and who you're becoming starts to widen. And if you're not careful, that gap can turn into a canyon. It started the summer I turned 20. I was in college, coming home for a break. I had just changed my major, something I hadn't told him yet. I was nervous, but not because I thought he'd be angry. I wanted him to be proud. And I knew what he expected from me. The plan had always been simple. Go to business school, graduate, take over the family business eventually. That was the track, and I was on it. Until I wasn't. See, I had fallen in love with writing. Not business reports, not marketing plans, stories, real ones, human ones. I started taking creative writing classes, started publishing small pieces in the college magazine, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was really breathing. Like I wasn't just following some script. I was finally writing my own. But I hadn't told my dad. Not yet. So that summer, we were sitting out on the porch. I remember the smell of the grill, the sound of cicadas, the way the light was soft and golden. It felt like a good moment to tell him, so I did. And at first, he didn't say anything. He just sat there. Then he stood up, didn't look at me, just walked over to the grill, flipped something that didn't need flipping. And finally he said, "Why?" One word, but it felt like a wall slamming down. I tried to explain. I told him I wasn't quitting school, just changing direction, that I wanted to write, that I needed to, that I had found something that made me feel alive. But he just shook his head. And then he said something that hit me like a punch I never saw coming. He said, "So you're throwing your life away?" I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I didn't know what else to do. I said, "Dad, I'm not throwing anything away. I'm trying to build something real." And that's when he turned and looked at me. And I'll never forget. "This," he said, "you don't know what real is." And that was it. That was the moment. It wasn't loud. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't fists or yelling or slamming doors. It was silence. And that silence stretched into days. Then weeks. We barely spoke the rest of the summer. When I left to go back to school, he didn't hug me, just said, "Take care." 3 words that felt like a full stop. For months after that, I kept wondering what I could have done differently. Was I selfish? Naive? Was I wrong for wanting something more? Something different? I talked to my mom. She told me he was just hurt, that he had built his whole life around providing a path for me, and now he felt like I was walking away from everything he worked for. But it didn't feel like I was walking away. It felt like I was trying to step into my own skin. And here's the thing nobody tells you when you're growing up. You can love someone and you can disappoint them. You can be doing what's right for your soul and still break someone's heart. And sometimes, there's no way around that. Slow. Music fades into a more hopeful tone. It took 2 years for us to really talk again. Not the surface stuff, birthdays, holidays, weather. I mean talk. And when we finally did, it wasn't dramatic. There wasn't a big apology or emotional breakdown. We were sitting in the garage. He was fixing something, like he always did. And out of nowhere, he said, "I read that piece you wrote, the one about Grandpa." And I just froze. Because I had written that piece from a place of real pain. It was about legacy, expectations, and the weight of being someone's hope. He said, "It was good." That's all. But it was enough. Because for him to say it was good, that was his way of reaching out, of saying he was listening now, that maybe he didn't understand everything, but he wanted to try. We still don't see eye to eye on everything. We probably never will. But what happened between me and my dad, as much as it hurt, it forced us both to stop pretending, to stop performing the roles we thought we had to play. And yeah, maybe it ruined everything that wasn't real. But in the ruins, we found something new, something honest. Don't think relationships break just because of one conversation. I think they break when people stop being willing to understand each other. And I think they heal when someone, anyone, takes the first step. That day in the garage when he said, "It was good," that was his step. And when I said, "Thanks, Dad, it meant a lot to hear you say that," that was mine. So maybe the worst moment between us wasn't the end. Maybe it was the beginning. That night after dinner, it was just the two of us again. His mom was working late and the house was quiet, the way it gets when everyone's winding down. We were sitting at the table, him pushing the last bits of broccoli around his plate, me finishing my third cup of decaf. He looked up and asked, "Did you ever have someone turn on you, Dad? Like, someone you trusted?" I didn't expect the question, but I appreciated it. I took a moment, leaned back in the chair. Yeah, I did, a couple times. He waited for me to go on, so I did. There was this guy in college. We were roommates my freshman year. We did everything together, same. Dorm, same late-night pizza runs, same stupid jokes. Then one day I found out he'd been talking behind my back. Things I told him in confidence, he used them to fit in with another group. My son's eyes were wide now. "What did you do?" I confronted him, I said. And you know what he said? He didn't deny it. He just shrugged and said, "It's not a big deal." Whoa. Yeah, I nodded. It hurt for a long time, but I didn't carry it forever. Eventually, I let it go, not for him, for me. He looked thoughtful. "So, you didn't stay friends?" "Nope, and that's okay. Not everyone's meant to walk the whole journey with you." He sat with that for a while. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I think I needed to hear that." Later that week, we were in the car again, this time heading home from soccer practice. His cleats were muddy, the air smelled like sweat and grass, and the windows were cracked to let the breeze in. He was quiet again. I've learned to stop fearing his silence. Sometimes silence is just thinking out loud, on the inside. After a few minutes, he spoke. "Remember when I was 9? And I cried in the car because someone broke my Lego spaceship?" I smiled. "You mean the one you named Star Viper? How could I forget?" He laughed just a little. "Yeah, that one. I remember you didn't get mad. You just let me be upset. You said it was okay to be sad when something you love gets broken." I nodded. Still true. He looked out the window again. I think Josh broke something. Not a Lego, just, like, trust. That one hit me right in the heart. Reached over, gently squeezed his shoulder. "Yeah, buddy, that sounds about right." And then he said something I'll never forget. "I think I want to give him a second chance. Not because I trust him yet, but because I think maybe he needs someone to believe he can be better." I didn't say anything at first. I didn't need to. I just looked at him, this not quite little boy who somehow saw the world clearer than most adults I know. Then I said, "That's real strength, son. That's courage. The next few days were uneventful in the best possible way. No big drama, no breakdowns. But I noticed something different in my son. He held his head a little higher. He laughed more. He started talking to me without me, having to pry. It was like something inside him had loosened, like a knot had finally untied itself. One night, I found a note on the kitchen table. It said, "Thanks for always listening to me, even when I don't know how to talk. You're a good dad. I love you." I sat down at that table and stared at that little scrap of paper for a long time. That note meant more to me than any Father's Day card or birthday gift ever could. Because it wasn't just about that day, in the car. It was about all the days before it, the nights I stayed up with him when he was sick, the games I drove him to, the mistakes I made and apologized for, the simple act of showing up, again and again. A week later, we saw Josh. It was at the grocery store. He was with his mom. He looked nervous when he saw us. I watched my son walk right up to him and say, "Hey." Josh looked surprised. "Hey, what's up?" My son didn't say much. He just offered a small smile. "Nothing, just wanted to say hi." Josh looked relieved, maybe even grateful. "Cool. See you Monday?" "Yeah," my son said. "See you." It was over in seconds, but everything had changed. Sometimes forgiveness isn't some dramatic speech or big moment. Sometimes it's just showing up, saying hi, offering a second chance. You know, I've been a parent for over a decade now, and every year, I realize how much more I don't know. But I do know this: our kids are always watching, listening, learning not just from what we say, but from how we live. They're learning how to forgive by watching us let go. They're learning how to be strong by watching us stay gentle. They're learning how to grow by watching us admit when we're wrong. That day in the car, I thought I was just driving, but I was really being invited into my son's heart, into a moment that mattered more than either of us realized at the time. It reminded me to slow down, to listen more, to stop trying to be the perfect dad and just be a present one. Because in the end, it's not about having the right answers. It's about being there when the questions come. So if you've made it this far in the story, let me tell you something. You matter more than you think. Your presence means more than your perfection ever will. Whether you're a parent, a friend, a teacher, a sibling, someone out there is watching how you live, how you love, how you forgive. Don't wait for a special moment. Because sometimes, the most unexpected moments are the ones that change everything. Thanks for being part of this story. If it touched you, share it with someone who might need it today. And if you've ever had a moment like this, where something unexpected happened and changed everything, tell us in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Until next time, take care of your people. Take care of your heart. And don't be afraid to listen a little deeper, even when the car ride feels quiet, because you never know what moment might matter most.